Anne, and I am so excited because I have Melonie Cannon of Moonstone Drums, which is a super cute name, by the way.
Thank you.
So she's here to chat with me today, and she is a drum maker, drum circle facilitator, and a breathwork coach. So I have had the pleasure of attending a couple of your amazing drum circles. I want to talk about the healing power of drums and what is a drum circle, what is a drum ceremony, just maybe the basics for someone that has no idea. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm getting there. But the first thing I want to say is that
I just thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. So the first thing that I noticed when I went into your drum circle was that it actually felt more like a ceremony to me. And so the drum circles that I was used to going to before your drum circles were just a circle of people playing the drums on the beach and everyone just kind of vibing and dancing and having a really good time, which is really fun. I love that too. But this was very different. You kind of just guided us through different, I don't know, I wouldn't say activities. What would you call them? Like exercises?
I haven't even found a word.
Right? Exercises? Yeah.
Well, I think there's a difference between I do healing drum circles. I call them, they're therapeutic drum circles versus ones that you just described, which are wonderful. They bring community together and they do the same thing in the sense of making you feel so physically good and emotionally good. But I truly try to work through in a more therapeutic manner. So,
maybe I'm just more in that community now, or I'm seeking it. But would you say that there are more people getting into drums? Is there like drum circle revival?
A drum circle. I'm going to before I answer that directly, I want to back up just a little about that. And notice indigenous cultures, for example, the drum has never left the forefront of their community and their circle. And so I'm going to speak generally about the drum. So this isn't qualified to certain cultures, because the drum is in every culture and it's in everyone's DNA. Their ancestry had drumming. So I want to go just a little back to the history a little bit, and this is based on a lot of historical research by Lane Redmond. She wrote a book called When the Drummers Were Women, and I would highly recommend reading that. And also my study over the last 6 years of drums. And a lot of drumming was done in ancient cultures that was exclusively by women. And it was used for ceremony and for religious purposes and also births and deaths. And there were specific women, there were priestesses that were called to drum in their communities. They were the drum leaders, I guess you would call it. I don't even know what you would call it. They were priestesses of the temples. And the drum was a very centered place in those communities. And since that time, and the drumming has evolved, and a lot of that thread of that lineage was lost, or at least it went underground. So you'll see a lot of art, ancient art depicted Sumeria, Babylonian, Egyptian, in the Mesopotamian areas. There was a lot of, you'll find women with the frame drum. And so as this thread, you'll see it a little bit through medieval times, but it was lost, especially when the drum became used for men with war, to help with marching and these kind of things. And the revival is that women, especially starting probably the 80s, 70s and 80s, started playing the drum. And what I've seen in the last 6 years is men are coming back to it too, as they explore their feminine aspect of their personalities too. There's a reunion going on. And
that's so interesting, just to interrupt you. Because
I go on and on.
I never thought of, I don't know, when I think of the drum, this is what I think of. I think of the drum player in my high school that, there's like this stereotypical, this cocky dude that like is just really loud and never listens to the music director and is always trying to take over the show. I think of masculine energy. And you just said that this is actually something that's like really feminine. And
it's connected to the moon, and the lineage of the priestess. And that's why women are just like, what is going on?
I need the drum. That's
I need
me.
a drum. I
That's
don't
me.
know why. And that's what happened to me too.
Okay, I'm going to pause this real quick just to explain, to give some clarification here on what we mean by feminine and masculine energy. So, regardless of your gender, we have both feminine and masculine energy within us. When our masculine and feminine energy are in a healthy, balanced state, they help nourish each other and they create more balance for us and better, healthy relationships with others. So when Melonie says the drum is feminine, she is implying that it can help us tap into this feminine energy, which both men and women can benefit from. And so feminine energy is usually associated with intuition, having this like flowy, effortless way through life, being open, creative, trusting. And so there's also wounded aspects to feminine energy. This is something that is usually developed out of fear or past trauma or just how we were raised. And the wounded feminine would be very insecure or manipulative, over emotional, victim kind of mentality. Whereas the masculine is usually associated with things such as integrity, offer stability and security. They're responsive, protective, and confident, logical. And a wounded masculine would be more controlling, aggressive, too competitive, abusive, unstable. So hopefully that just clarifies that a little bit.
Why the drum? Why has this, like, what about the drum specifically do you think is so profoundly healing?
That is a really good question. So, we could go into the scientific aspect. I'm going to try to hit scientific and spiritual aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But first, let's do just a little bit of science. You have rhythms that, when put on the body or even the emotional body or the things that are in our aura,
Mm-hmm.
you are getting vibration in a certain frequency, certain resonance is going on, and that is going to affect the body. It actually, people come into drum circle and they're in a certain brainwave, they're in alpha brainwave state, and they actually leave in a deeper brainwave states. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, I think.
And there's actually been there are actual studies now on that, right?
So many studies.
Like just on sound in general, but also specifically shamanic drumming and how it alters your brain.
Right. And so shamanic drumming is when you're doing beats at an will work. You are going 120 beats per minute with shamanic drumming.
For how long?
At least you should do at least 10 minutes. You can go up to 20 minutes for a shamanic journey. And it's nice when someone else is doing it for you, so you can be in that state. But you have these effects on the body and the mind. So you're going from an alpha to a theta brainwave state with shamanic journey, with rhythm. So it gives you deep relaxation, number one. No, there's lots of numbers, but deep relaxation with drumming. Especially it reduces stress. So your hormone levels change. Anxiety goes down. People actually have lower levels of pain after drum circle.
Yeah, I've heard that it could lower inflammation.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You have endorphins going on. Endorphins are high. So people, especially with chronic pain, have walked away going, I don't have the chronic pain right now. I don't know what's going on, but it's because it's just the effects on the body. Boost your immune system hugely, which you wouldn't even think. Why would a drum do
I know,
that?
but it's crazy because it all really comes down to just the anxiety thing, like calming your nervous system, right? And
it affects the parasympathetic. It takes you from that flight and fright,
which we're like always in, by the way. Most of us are in that all the time.
Absolutely, in that chronic stress state, and it moves you into that parasympathetic state where you're just flow. It's amazing. So, and also you're connecting with other people, which is amazing for your
for sure
soul. And other things it does, it releases negative feelings. So the drum actually expresses the inexpressible, in my mind. And also, if you have trauma that's suppressed, just like breath work, the drum can release that. You can think of a memory and just play that drum and it will express what you could never express during that trauma. One young man, we were drumming over him, and he's like, I'm like, what's your intention? Because intention plus sound equals healing. So I'm like, what's your intention? He was just like, I am so stuck in my throat chakra. I just can't express myself. He's like 21 years old. And we started drumming around him, and I could feel the energy in him just building up, building up. And I'm like, oh, I mean, it was coming out. I could tell. And this release happened in his throat, and he yelled like, and I just put my hand over his heart. He just yelled while we drummed around him, and then he literally said, "Okay, thanks, I'm done," and he walked out of the drum circle.
He's like, I got what I needed.
Like, oh, I never saw him again because he had his healing.
That's awesome.
And the drum was a part of that. Anyway,
I love that so much.
It's great. It's drum therapy. It's completely it's rhythm therapy is what it is. And
yeah, and I feel like we're all naturally rhythmic. Like as human beings, we're all rhythmic, right? We have the heartbeat, our mother's heartbeat in the womb. I guess you could say that's our first experience of rhythm, unless you want to take it even further back and talk about our ancestors. And then kids too. Kids they respond naturally to rhythm. We all do. It's just in us. And I think that contributes, to why the drum is so healing too. So yeah, you covered the physical.
Wait. I just want to say about kids, because especially for your listeners, like the drum is a method of creative expression. And for them, they need sacred imagination. They need to be able to explore that. And it's important for play, and drum can be a beautiful tool for that.
Yes. Also, I've noticed that really young children feel very empowered by the drum because it makes this loud, vibrating sound, and they're, just little people. And sometimes when you're a kid, you really feel that littleness of you. You have all these adults towering over you, and there's a lot of things that you can and can't do. And when they play the drum, like I see this a lot with the little boys, their smile just gets huge, and they just want to do it louder and faster, and just it starts to bother all the adults. But
right, it's an acceptable way to be
loud. Yeah, and I like how it makes them feel powerful and loud and like take up space. That's good. I think it's a good thing for all kids to explore, and for us too, especially women, right? Because sometimes we tend to have that we tend to kind of shell in a little more and just not want to speak our truth. Sometimes I don't want to speak for everyone, but that was my struggle for a long time. I guess it was a lot of throat stuff, a lot of throat chakra stuff, not speaking my truth, kind of not setting boundaries. So like to be loud and create this like huge vibration, that's empowering for anyone.
Yeah, it is for sure.
So speaking of rhythm, are there different rhythms or tempos or the placement of the drum where you're drumming that you use to obtain different goals?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, yes, and could I teach you them? Yes and no. So, drumming is a very intuitive process. And definitely when I go and I'm working on someone for healing, I am definitely getting in tune with those rhythms, getting inspiration about what rhythms to play. Jeff Strong, if anyone wants to look him up, of Strong Institute, he actually teaches specific rhythms in courses for chakra healing and those kind of things, and you can learn those. But I really believe too that the drum will, this is kind of hard to explain, this process, but when you're working on someone, you're drumming over them, the drum will tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds really kind of
makes total sense to me.
But so yes, there's heartbeat rhythms, like you can go boom, 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 boom when you're trying to make a connection between two people, for example. There's these kind of things, but at the same time, the body, when you're working on someone's body, for example, you'll hear blockages in the drum. It will sound different. So you know how sound travels through things? Yeah. So if you have a blockage in the body, the sound will come back up.
Right. It's reacting to
It's reacting
everyone's energy and vibration.
Emotionally, they'll have blockages.
That's super cool. Yeah.
So when I'm drumming over someone and I hear the drums come back to me, I'm not in tune with my shamanic drum. And I'll go, oh, this is where they need drumming over. And then I'll tune into what kind of drumming. Do they need a comfort kind of sound, a rhythm? Do they need an explosive courage type of rhythm? What is going to release that blockage? What is it needed there? And then I tune into that, and then I will play. And sometimes it's also shapes you create, kind of like Reiki drumming. You can create shapes with your drum as you were drumming that rhythm and moving that into the body to release the blockages. But there are things that happen, like if I'm leading shamanic journey, I'm doing just beating and guiding people at the beginning. I tell them this is where you need to go, but then their imagination takes over.
Right.
But as far as drumming over people, was that what I was doing? Drumming over?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're going around the circle.
That's exactly what I was just described.
Right. So it was a shamanic type drumming to kind of get us in that brain state that we needed to be able to receive whatever, message or guidance from our higher self or God, however, you want to put it.
Right.
Cool. I love that.
I'm really trying to relax the body. I want people to be embodied when you're drumming. Even though that sounds kind of counterintuitive, where you're trying to go on some journey spiritually, but you're also in your body. You can't get there until you are fully relaxed in that state of surrender. And that's what the drum gets us.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I always, when I think of the drum, I think grounding, just like, but then we're talking about all these like meditations and like, I guess, shamans would use it to get in like a trance state. And I'm like, well, that's not so grounded. That's kind of like, in spiritual realms kind of thing. So it's both. It's perfect. Like it's absolutely both. Like you need to be grounded.
That's a great mystery, isn't it?
Yes. It's awesome. I love it. And I love what you say about it being a very intuitive thing, especially as a facilitator. If you're facilitating anything, really, there's a lot of intuition going on in there if you're going to do a good job, right? Because every group is different and every person comes in with different energy or different things that they need, that they're going through, different levels of stress. So yeah.
And you're just a hollow bone when you're a facilitator. You're a hollow bone for spirit. So you just, beforehand, I prepare really carefully. Make me a hollow bone. Let me be the guide to whatever you want. And sometimes that is as simple as put your hand on this person's back right now. And it can be that simple because they need grounding. They need some touch or play this kind of rhythm over them or go behind their head and play here. Or, it's just simple, but you have to be so in tune when you do drum circle. So.
And I think everybody could be in touch with this part of themselves, the intuitive part. But I think that we shut it off very early on.
And the drum will help you open it. It will blast it open.
What does the drum not do?
Make dinner.
Right. I guess, that's
it's true. It's a great plate to eat off of.
Okay, so can you tell me real quickly, can you walk me through, or it doesn't have to be step by step, but I just want viewers to kind of understand what happens more specifically in the circle. Can you give an example or some?
Sure, I can do it. So my drum circles are never the same, although they have a general arc. Because I'm a writer, storyteller, I like to have the beginning coming in, and then when we're drumming over each other, it's like the peak point, and then I bring people down. So
like a good song.
Like a good song, yeah.
A journey.
And
that's why I say it's like a ceremony, because it's like a journey.
Yeah, it's a hero's journey. Yeah, for sure. But so when people come in, they don't even know each other. They've maybe never even picked up a drum. And so they're like, timid. What do we do? So I kind of walk them through that. And then I'm like, we do a call and response so they can feel what it's like to say, oh, this is my rhythm. So I'm like, say your name. What's your rhythm? I usually have a question or something, and then they play and they're like, is that okay? They're just so timid at first. And then we play something, and I should point out to them, like, do you see how we're not all together? And there's a thing with drumming that's called entrainment, and that is essential for healing work. And that is it's when two things become synchronous. Like, so you've seen probably those clocks that are like all off at the beginning of it. They're going like this. Well, that happens in drum circle. Entrainment's really necessary. So then I try to get them in exercises so they can experience entrainment with each other, where the ego is gone. There's no ego. There's not one guy, like, if he is, like, I call him out, but where we're actually listening to one another and we become one circle. We are a giant drum playing together. And what does that feel like to be in entrainment? And then when we get to that point, that's when we can really do the healing work, because they feel safe and they're able to express and they're able to go deep. So I lead through different, depending on my theme, I have different exercises that I do.
Can you tell me some themes that you've done?
Some themes that I've done. I've done like archetypes, breath, journeying to the center of your soul. I've done so many. This is 5 years of drum circles. So let me think. Everyone is different too. I try to always have something unique. Oh, we've done chakra healing, where I've gone through the whole chakras, 7 exercises to go through the whole chakra system. So yeah, just whatever.
Cool.
I create when I get a theme, or if I'm a private drum circle, I'll just get a theme and go, okay, guide me, help me create. And hopefully by the end, we're drumming over each other. Sometimes I do meditation, sometimes I do shamanic journeying, but that's basically the arc of it. But the drumming over each other is really important, to feel that vibration and to feel that people are all engaged in each other's healing.
Yeah.
That's where the community comes in.
That's a great point. I'll never forget that. There was one time that you had 2 people back to back, and I think you had us think of a word, or I don't know, it was something we wanted to let go of or something we wanted more of. I'm not really sure. And then everyone would circle us in a circle, go around us in a circle, playing the drum all around. And it's just feeling all those vibrations at the same time was I think it was one of the most powerful things I've ever felt. That in that moment, I was like, yeah, the drum is everything. The drum is so healing and powerful.
And the intention is really important. If everyone's intending for you, like, I need more ability to speak with my spouse, like speak what I want, and that's my intention. Everyone's drumming that vibration into you. You're going to walk away feeling so empowered.
Yeah, definitely. So what advice would you give to somebody who feels drawn or called to the drum? Maybe they don't have a drum circle around them, or maybe they haven't built up the courage to meet with a group of people yet. How can they do this at home? Are there any practical ways that they could use the drum at home for healing?
Yeah, if you don't have a drum, you can use other things. Just remember that. You can, it's rhythm. Just get something that you can use. But if not, get a drum. There are easily affordable ones on Amazon, for example. The Remo drums is my preference. But you can use them in ways that it's just limited by your own imagination. There's so many things you can do with the drum. You can have ceremony. So say you build an altar in your home, or just ceremony for transition in your life. What if you're moving, want to say goodbye to your home and welcome to a new one? You can create ceremony with drum really easily. It's connection to the land. So say you were like, I want to go and be really connected to the spot that I'm in. You can go out and drum over the land and send your intentions of light and love into that land, or going up a canyon. And
I'm going to back up just a little bit for some people that are not familiar maybe with what we mean when we say ceremony. Can you give like a super quick example of what that would be?
A ceremony is whatever you want to make it. So for example, I want to light a candle here and be meditative on what I want to manifest in my future. I'm going to create a little ceremony. You're bringing the spiritual into the physical world. That's all ceremony is. And you can
and then how does the drum help with that process? How would somebody at home do that?
So for example, you would be able to take your drum, pick it up, and be like, I'm like experiential, so I have to show you. So I can just go inward, my meditation, or drum over my own body, and you can sing in that ceremony. You can be like, I want my home to be free and full of love. You're singing that intention out because your voice, using the drum and the voice, you're creating and manifesting. So that's
absolutely.
literally ceremony. I'm not talking some big thing.
I love that. And I think people really underestimate the power of vocally saying what you want out loud.
For
right?
sure.
Turning something that's like in your head and just making it real by speaking it out or writing it down on a piece of paper, pen and paper, you know, for you to see in front of you. There's something really powerful about that.
Really powerful. You can do shamanic journeying, which we've talked about. You can gather your family together, your friends together, and have drum circle. You're playing with your intuition, and you're playing. Just
playing is a good word.
Just playing. Chanting is really good to do with the drum as well. You can do lots of things like there's these drums. These are Renaissance drums made by Remo.
Oh, it's so big.
Oh, I could just block with.
That's like a moon.
There's different sizes, but singing into the drum is really wonderful. There's a place where it's like a microphone.
I hear it. Yeah.
Chande washte hochila lagi estima an hepeke washte hey oh hey hey oh hey.
Beautiful. I love that.
You can sing into your drum this way and feel that vibration coming back to you. These are simple things you can do with a drum.
Yeah.
Are just so healing and helpful.
Yeah. And I would say, moral of the story, never ever underestimate the power of sound. And drums just happens to be a really good use of that. The strong vibrations that, you know, are coming back at you. It's a very productive way to move energy, stagnant energy, and just heal. Yeah, it's a perfect tool for healing. Any last words you want to give us? Or I think we covered a lot, but
we covered a lot. I would love for people to come to my drum circle if they're in Utah. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, how does someone find your events?
Find me on Moonstone Drums and Meditations on Facebook. And Melonie Cannon, Melonie with an O, like a drum. And you can find me also on Instagram on _Melonie.cannon_. And I just started on TikTok because it's helping me. And I'm launching this new business with breathwork and sound, and it's called Earth and Sky.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. My biggest goal in this was to just bring some awareness of the power of the drum to somebody that may not have known. And hopefully we get more drums in people's hands, you know?
I hope so. We want to spread them to every hand in the world. So.
Exactly.